to this week's channel, and in today's vlog I feel like I need to address this because it happens to a lot of people, and I think there is a lot of people out there that don't like to talk about it and things. So I am coming on here today to talk about what's happened to me this year, because when I put on my Instagram, I don't know, around last week I think it was, I put ask me anything, and I had lots of people ask me lots of questions. So thank you to whoever wrote them in my question box on Instagram. But this one person put, why did you have such a big break with jumping this year? And I'm on here to tell you why, because I have mentioned it in a few of my vlogs, but I don't know if you guys got what I meant basically, so I'm gonna talk about it on here. So guys, I lost my confidence. Some of you might know, literally this year I lost my confidence so much with jumping. Now, as you guys know, Dan and I do get a lot of refusals, and I'm going to go back in time with you, back to 2018 and 2019, because I got Danny in 2018. Now, I have never been a jumper, well, I wasn't, let's say. I absolutely hated jumping, and when I got to Danny, his previous owner said to us that Danny's limit is 70 centimetres, because that's when he starts putting in his stops and everything. And we said we're not bothered, because I didn't want him to jump, I just wanted him to hack and basically have fun. So we wasn't even expecting that I was gonna jump him, so it was a shock when I started. And basically how I did start was Kaylee, which was his previous owner, still wanted to take him to competitions and jump him, which was absolutely fine, and she said that she wanted to go jumping this one weekend and would I like to do a class. And I had this very crazy idea that I wanted to jump, so I entered into I think it was the 50 centimetres, and we arranged to meet Kaylee down at the stables and jump in the school for the first time with Dan. And Kaylee put the jumps up to 60 centimetres for the first time I jumped him, because she told me that that was going to be the height when I go show jumping. Then when I got to our first jumping competition and I looked at the course, it was tiny, because she made it bigger so that when I got there I realised that actually isn't that big, and we've jumped bigger than that. So I luckily managed to get into the 45 centimetres. We entered that class on the day, and I've done the 45 and the 50, and it went amazing. And Dan is obviously, well, he's actually nearly touching 15'1", and I was 12 at the time. And I looked so small on Dan that there was actually a comment. They were like, wow, big horse for a little rider. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. And I carried on doing jumping every single month down at Mullicott. Now then, we bought Danny in March 2019. Up my height to like 55. I don't even think I was jumping 60 at that time. I then joined the pony club and was doing lots of different lessons with them, and I decided to go to camp that year. I went to camp only jumping 55 centimetres, and my instructor was aware of that. I went into my jumping lesson and I come out jumping 80 centimetre courses. And then we went on to the cross country, never been on a cross country course at all. And she puts me round to 80 centimetre cross country jumps. Now Dan was absolutely epic that camp. He did not put in one stop. He absolutely aced it, and I absolutely loved it. But we just couldn't believe that I went in only jumping 55 centimetres and then come out jumping 80 centimetres spreads, oxers. These cross-country fences was pretty wide, may I just add. So after camp I was going to more pony club rallies, and because I jumped that height and Danny and I was both confident, our instructor was just getting us going around 80 centimetre courses. I then joined a team to go to Bicton with the Pony Club, and I entered my first 70 centimetres course, and again we absolutely aced it. We literally had no problem whatsoever. A few months went on, it brought us to the Halloween jumping with the Pony Club, and the instructor that I had, we were put in a group with loads of different abilities. So we had people jumping around 1 meter classes, then people jumping around like 70, 80, and then there was like one person that was jumping smaller than that. So obviously that is a big mix up of heights that we all jumped. So she put us straight in at 80 centimetres, and guys, this isn't just me. Dan does not like going straight in at a big height. He would rather, like, say, start at 50, 60, then work your way up to 80. He doesn't like being put in at 80. And that was the first time that I experienced that Dan doesn't like starting at bigger heights. Now, this jump was a spread. We come round cantering, and I don't even think he stopped. He just fell on his knees, and that frightened me, and I think it frightened Dan as well. And it was just such a horrible atmosphere in that lesson as well. I just lost my confidence slightly. And then I think I'd done like a rally around Christmas time, and I think it went all right. Then brings us into 2020, and I was actually doing the teams up at Coxey, which I done last year, which I vlogged. And I was going around in the 60 and the 70, and the 60 would always go well. We would never have a problem, but I'd get to 70 and I'd start having refusals at the second fence, and then we would get eliminated. But I didn't lose my confidence at that part, because the refuses that he would do would be like so pathetic, and we would only have 3 refusals and then we'd get eliminated. And that was it. Then February 2020, I went into the 60 and we was going round fine, and Dan was really over jumping the jumps, and I come up to this jump and he stopped with me. It was a cross pole and I just fell off. I don't even know how I managed to fall off, because it was a pathetic stop, and that was my first fall with Dan. And since then I have never trusted him going over a jump, and that is when I knocked my confidence a little bit more. So because Dan had never refused with me before, we was like, there is a problem with him, which we then figured out he had a saddle problem. Now, I'm not going to talk to you guys about the saddle, because I'm going to be doing that in a separate vlog. So we're going to move on. Now, I qualified for Cricklands at the end of 2019 for April 2020, and I was having lessons up at Codden, getting ready to go to Cricklands, because I wanted to be jumping around 70 and 60 centimetre courses, because Cricklands is in Wales, if you don't know, and obviously I want to make sure that we are good to go, because it's a long way. And we kept having stops, and it's basically just escalated since then. And from then onwards, we would either have some lessons where we would have no stops and it'd be fine, and then have lessons that would fall off or have lots of refusals. And I've just been very slowly losing my confidence each time he's been having refusals, but I've just been carrying on because I haven't had like a massive confidence knock. Obviously we then went into lockdown, so I had a massive breakthrough. 2020, Dan was off for 4 months. Again, that's going to be in a separate vlog. Now, I just want to add, we have had the saddle fitter out for Dan, and his saddle was sorted back in 2020. We've had the vet out because we thought there was underlying problems with Dan, because we couldn't understand how he went from jumping everything with me to then starting to refuse. We had people telling us that he had navicular ulcers, neurological problems and things. So we got the vet out and there was nothing wrong with him. The only problem he had, which was with his saddle, which we got sorted anyway, just coming out of lockdown, that was. So we had everything checked because we just couldn't understand why he started stopping with me, but there was no problem whatsoever with him. He had his back done as well, teeth, everything. And then when we come out of lockdown, I hired Codden, and I was actually Maisie come with me because she was like my moral support. We used to do everything together. And Dan flew around the course of jumps. So then I decided to take Dan to Down Farm and do the 60 and 70. And we had refusals. And now we'll fast forward on to 2021. I started jumping. Dan then started to become really nappy when I was having group lessons with the pony club. He wouldn't want to go forward. I went to this one lesson and it was in a school and he just did not want to jump anything. And then I had other days where he would literally fly around, and it was the same in the competitions as well. I then took him to camp at Coxley in August 2021, and Dan absolutely aced it. We was going around 80 centimetres on the cross country and on the show jumping, which gave us a real boost. But then a week later we went to this clear and jumping, and he jumped a few of them and then started refusing with me again. And then the first vlog that I filmed, it was a show jumping one with the teams. We absolutely aced it, winning our 60 centimetres and going around our 70 centimetres. We had no stops whatsoever, but we did have 2 unfortunate poles. But to be honest, I'm not even worried if I got all of the poles down. It's just as long as I get round, that is literally the main thing. And each month I was going to the teams, and I might get eliminated last year, or I might have like 1 or 2 stops but then get him around the rest of the course, and that's kind of how it went last year. Now we're going on to this year, and guys, this will have been all vlogged. January this year I went up to Mullicott with my friend Kiva, and they had all like the Christmas decorations out and things, and I fell off quite badly. I got hit against the pole and I actually fell off twice. Now that did knock my confidence quite a bit. I then 2 days later went up and hired Coxley because on the weekend I was going competing and I wanted to get around a course before I went competing after our 2 falls, which you guys might remember if you watched that vlog. And Dan absolutely flew around there. Then we went to the teams and I think I had like 1 stop or something in the 70 centimetres. So after having my fall in January, my 2 falls at Mullicott, I was suffering with my back, and that's when we was investigating what was wrong with me and things. And first of all, I thought it was sciatica, but it's obviously not that. And I was obviously very cautious about jumping. So I would be worrying anyway that we're going to have a refusal, but also worrying that I'm going to fall off because I could mess my back up even more. So when I was going through having like my MRI scans and it was proper going into detail about it, and I stopped going to school and things, I did have like 2 months of a break from jumping, just for the simple reasons of safety until we knew what was actually going on. That wasn't because I did lose my confidence, but it wasn't the point where I was like, I need to have a break, if you know what I mean, from jumping. And then it was around 2 months I had a break from, and I was just desperate to get back out jumping because that was when we was able to go and hire the Pontypridd Arena eventing, and I was so desperate to go there this year. But unfortunately, when I got back jumping, it closed and we was going onto the cross country on grass. So when I started jumping, I went to Coxley and had a lesson with Zara, and Dan absolutely flew it. I think it was finishing on like 70. Then brings us on to the summer, and as you guys will know, I've had quite a lot of falls this year and a lot of refusals, and it has really knocked my confidence. Now, it's okay, guys, to say if you've knocked your confidence, whether it's jumping, dressage, hacking, whatever discipline you do, because everybody goes through that period where you just lose your confidence, and that is what happened to me with my jumping. And when we had this lady come out to talk to Danny, she said for me to have a break from jumping and just go and do things that I enjoy and what Dan enjoys and just go and have fun. So that is what we did. That is why we had such a big break. I was just going off doing lots and lots of fun rides, just hacking. So you will have seen that this summer there was lots of fun ride vlogs, lots of showing vlogs and things, because I was having that big break from jumping, and I started jumping again in September, which was a pony club lesson, and we've just been starting so small. Like, I've been having lessons and we've hired the school and things, and I've been jumping like 50 centimeters just to build my confidence back up again. And the same with Dan, because I don't want to keep falling off and I don't want to keep having the refusals, because it's going to make me knock my confidence even more. Now, I never got to the point where I thought I need to stop jumping or I don't want to jump anymore. That never come into my head. I always still wanted to jump, but I just lost my confidence so much. And if you're nervous anyway, going to have a lesson or jump, your horse is obviously going to pick it up and then going to refuse with you. If you've got that in your head that he's going to refuse, he's going to do it. So you need to think positive. So that is why I had a big break from it. And I think that's really it. I think I have covered it, and I think it's a really good idea if any of you guys are lost your confidence on whatever discipline, just have a break from it. Like, we had 3 months and it's definitely helped us. Like, I've been jumping more regularly now and we're starting to build up the height a little bit more, and we're definitely getting back on track. And I'm not, like, these last few lessons, even more than few, I have not been nervous, like, at all. And I just got to know that I have got to be as positive as anything when jumping him. And if I have any doubt, to not do it, because if I have doubt that he's not going to jump it or we can't do it, it's not going to happen. So if I want to jump, I have got to think to myself, we can do this, we are more than capable enough to do it. We have jumped 80 centimetre courses and Dan is 1,000% capable to jump the height and jump whatever, and so am I, and we've already proved it to ourselves from 2019. And the lady that came out to speak to Dan told her why he wasn't jumping with me. Dan told the lady that he was not jumping for me because he didn't feel that I was enjoying jumping anymore, which I wasn't, because every time I would go, I would get flung across the floor or have stops and things, and his stops started getting more nasty. Like, when he first started refusing with me, they would be pathetic little stops, and then he started really putting his stops in with me. Like, I would think that he is going to jump it, and like his ears would be forward and he would be going towards his jump, and I would be thinking he is going to jump this. Last minute, dead stop, I'm over his head. So Dan told the lady that he wasn't going to jump unless I started enjoying it, which was a part of my gap as well from not jumping, was to just go out and have fun, start enjoying doing other things with him, and then get back into jumping and start enjoying jumping again, which I actually am starting to enjoy my jumping again, which is obviously really good. And I definitely think Dan is enjoying it as well, because we went arena eventing on Saturday and he was flying. One of my top tips are, if you have lost your confidence, tell people, because there are so many people out there at some point that will have a confidence knock. It might not be the same time as you, they will have already had it or they've got it coming, kind of thing. And if you speak to somebody, they might go, oh yeah, a few years ago I had the same problem as you. Because now, going through Instagram and YouTube, the amount of people that are in the same position as me, it makes you not feel alone. But for now, guys, that is it. That's kind of covered why I had that big break, and hopefully we are now back on track. You guys will have also noticed that I have not done any show jumping competitions. So my last show jumping competition was all the way back in April, which was my team's championships, that actually went pretty well, I have to say. After my break and we started jumping, I didn't want to go straight out to a competition after we've just had like a lesson or something. I was like, I am not doing any competitions until I feel a lot more confident. So it'll only be arena hires / lessons, because at a competition it is a completely different atmosphere. You have got nerves. Everybody has nerves. If you say you don't have nerves on a competition, you are lying, because everyone has nerves. So you have the nerves, and then if you're thinking about having refusals or falling off, it's just a completely different atmosphere. Not only that, you have people watching you. It was just a no. I was like, I am not competing until we are going round all right in the arena. And I feel like that's slowly happening. So there are going to be some competition vlogs. Obviously, I was still competing because I've done dressage competition, I've been going showing and things. So I didn't stop my competitions altogether. I just didn't want to compete show jumping until I felt confident enough to. So I hope this has helped you out, guys. And if you are in the same situation that I have been in, or you've been through it before, it's okay. But it's a bit of a boring vlog, but I hope you've enjoyed. Please make sure that you like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.